Welcome, everybody. This is the solution artist, Bobby F. Parihar here, coming to you guys live on a really powerful day here with my brother, Alexe J. Mcdonald. How you doing, man?
I'm so good, man. So thankful and awesome. Really excited to be here with you.
How you liking the new name?
Loving it, loving it. Well, I always had a mate who called me Alexi when I was growing up, and I loved it when he called me that. So it's nice to get back to some roots of feeling like a teenager again.
It's crazy because it'll evoke a power that exists from when you're youth, and at the same time, it fits so well. Middle name James, and is a client of mine, Alexe here. So before it was just Alex McDonald, boring, right? Alexe J. McDonald. Now we have a vibration that allows you to access some of your really true power. I had no idea the type of power or the type of thing that this guy was dealing with, or what he was going through, inside of his chart. But it was really powerful to be able to meet you and to actually see this for myself. So I'm super blessed to be able to share your story, let people know what you do, and really help you get out there, man. It's a super powerful, very, very big blessing to be able to share and create this space for you. So for people who don't know, what I basically do is I help people find a vibration amongst themselves or within themselves that helps you to access, I'd like to say, a higher vibration. So when we get a chance to do this for you, I would expect that after this, the sky's the limit, and you're going to be taking this to the next level. So let's start. For some of us, the beginning is going to be at the beginning of our story, and some of us is going to be at that moment, that line in the sand moment. But maybe we should start a little bit earlier than that. Let's give people an idea. Let's bring us back down to when Alexe actually came into being, or maybe a little bit about yourself. Would love to hear your backstory, man, before we start getting into the spiritual goods.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you so much, man. And thank you for everyone for joining us and listening in. This is really cool. I love sharing my story, and I love sharing what we're doing and what is possible and the potential that we can create together. So thank you so much, Bobby. I'm so grateful for this, man.
Absolutely.
A little bit about me. I live in Perth, Western Australia. I've always been super blessed. I've always had a really good environment to grow up in, and I've had a lot of things and a lot of opportunities come my way that I've probably never really taken full advantage of. I've never felt like I lived up to my potential, as I'm sure a lot of us have similar things like that. So. I grew up in a family that was full of love, and went to a school that was pretty cool, full of opportunities there. I mean, it didn't have heaps of what's the word I'm looking for? Like heaps of subjects or anything to choose from. So I didn't really have a whole range of opportunities or avenues to go down in terms of looking for conventional things to study. I never really wanted to go to university or anything like that. So when I left school, I just went to trade. I went and got a trade. I'm an electrician by trade. So always felt like I've worked in that energy space, even if it was just wiring houses or buildings. Now I'm moving into rewiring brains. So I'm still working in that energetic space, and I'm absolutely loving that. So I never liked being a Sparky though. And I was working in Western Australia. We have a booming mining industry, and I was working up in the northwest of Australia. It's hot as hell. It's remote. It's dirty. It's dusty. The environment itself is super negative. I mean, I don't really want to get too deep into this, but a lot of suicide, a lot of depression, a lot of addictions. And I was deep in that environment with a lot of people that I was working around, and it's heavy, man. It's really heavy to be in that environment. So I was grateful to be receiving a lot of money for the time that I was giving, but it was something that I never wanted to get stuck into, and it is an easy cycle to get stuck into. Especially once you start earning that money, then everything comes with it, the house, the boat, the car, the debt, everything that you want. You think we need to fulfill a hole inside of us starts to come. And then we get trapped in that cycle, because then you need to keep that money coming in. And that's the only way we really find that we can make that money. So I had just been traveling. I went away traveling by myself after a few things. I like to call it as a life course redirection. Some people may call it everything falling apart. Some people may call it a living hell. I don't know. I just sort of saw it as a redirection of my life, and I was heading in a direction that wasn't in an alignment with who I want to be and the vision I hold of my life. So I then was getting ready to go back to one of these jobs, working 4 weeks, often 10, 12-hour days, 24 days or 12 days in a row, 13th, 14th day off, and then cycle repeats. So it's, it's hard. It's hard. It's a lot of work. And every part of my being was resisting that, but I was still just moving through it. I asked for change, and I asked to be the representation of that change. Now, it doesn't matter who you're asking this to, whether you call it universe, God, your higher self, just divine intelligence, I don't know, whatever everybody has that concept of, some sort of high power that we all feel but can never really intellectualize. It's just a concept that I have. So I spoke that out, and that very night, actually I was reading a book called The Wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It. For anybody listening, it's an amazing book. It's all about affirmations, speaking your truth, and impressing the subconscious mind by taking action to create your change and to start attracting what we want into our life by getting the subconscious mind on board with where we want to be going. So it's funny now that I'm working with the subconscious mind. I had no idea that this is something I was really working towards. It was always me just positive thinking and watching, being really aware of the words that I was speaking over my life and what I was attracting into my life. So my action after asking for that change was I was just sort of moved back into my parents' place. So I was living back at home with my folks, and I had never really cleaned my room. So I emptied my room out. I took everything out, my bed, my clothes, everything off the walls. I vacuumed it, I dusted it, I washed the walls, I cleaned my wardrobe. I got every bit of dust out of that. I got really a bit anal with it. I cleaned the absolute hell out of that room. I sent a picture of it to my parents, and I said, can you guys speak some words into this room? I baptized it in success. This is all the sort of stuff that Florence Scovel Shinn was talking about in the book. And that evening I had what is my awakening vision. And it really awoken me to the idea that we are all one. And what I saw in my mind was just this ball of red energy. And there was extensions of that red energy coming down into the earth, that every extension was just who we are. And so that kind of awakened me to this idea of the collective consciousness, that we are all one and we are all together and we are all brothers and sisters and just reflections of one another. So it was a hugely powerful vision that I had. And I was listening, at the time I was listening to it was binaural beats with like a light thunder rainstorm, because I'm a Cancer, so water is something that I always come back to, and that's where I find my peace. So it was like a light rain in there. And as I was listening to it, I was just taken. It was like, I don't know whether it's remote viewing or something, but I was taken to myself before I went traveling. And again, I spoke some things over my life of what I wanted to experience while I was traveling, 6 months in North America and Canada. Absolutely loved it. It was life-changing. But I was standing next to myself on a balcony, listening to myself ask all these questions. I want to know what my life is for. I want to know what I'm doing here. What's my purpose? What the hell is all of this about? And I was literally standing next to myself, and I felt my spirit say to me, all of this has been answered. And it had. Over the 12 months following that moment on my friend's balcony, everything that I'd answered started to sort of come into fruition for me. And after I felt that, there was, through my headphones, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this, through my headphones, there was a crack of thunder that was way louder than anything that was going on in that recording. And my spirit just said, wake up. And it was like 2 a.m, and I was like, this had been going for about an hour or so, 2 hours. And because I was sort of getting myself into a deep meditation before all of this happened. And I was laying there with my eyes wide open, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, wow, what the hell just happened? And I had a song playing in my head from my favorite artists, Above and Beyond. They're a trance group, and they're all about love and unity. But the song in my head was "I'm on my way to heaven," and so I thought that was a bit interesting. So I went and put that song on, and I just started dancing around, and it was just so liberating and felt so amazing. So that was a really cool vision. But then, what do you do with a vision? It's something that you can't really. Nobody else really understands. It's my own personal experience. So I was like, okay, what next? I was starting to look into consciousness. Didn't understand what consciousness was or anything about it. I just started researching some stuff, watching YouTube videos, and I was watching this YouTube video that was, it was pretty boring, but there was one part of it that really stood out, and they said that there's a scientist who has discovered that you can reprogram your DNA and your genes. And so that for me was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I'm going to Google that. I don't know who that is. I just Googled scientist reprogramming genes. Bruce Lipton comes up. So that was my introduction to where I'm at now. I watched his YouTube video talking about all of his research about how it's our subconscious beliefs and perceptions that determine 97% of our biological and psychological reality. They control all of our behaviors. It's the subconscious mind that's driving the vehicle. And I think it's pretty cool, because I was always reading about the subconscious mind, but I never actually knew anything about it. So the second part of his documentary was how to change subconscious beliefs and perceptions, which was with Rob Williams, who is the originator of what I now do. I'm a Psyche facilitator. I help people reprogram subconscious beliefs and perceptions by using a very simple, safe and respectful process to help people change how they feel, change how they behave, change how they respond to life and what it is presenting to us in the form of what we often call challenges. In our philosophy, we like to call challenges gifts, because it's an opportunity to grow, evolve, and become a better person. If we can just change it from being a problem to I am the solution to a problem that is in front of me. So I didn't have any money at this time, because I'd blown it all partying while I was in North America, and I had 111,000. I thought that was a pretty cool number. 111,000 frequent flyer points. It cost me 110,000 frequent flyer points to fly the other side of Australia to Melbourne. Actually, let me go back one moment. The morning of this, my awakening sort of vision, there was a Psyche facilitator, a Psyche instructor in Perth running a workshop. So I kind of felt that was my spidey senses going off at the same time, that he was in the same location as me. So I called him and he was like, dude, I've just been in Perth. I've got one in Melbourne next weekend. My girlfriend now, my life partner now, she had just moved home to Melbourne. So it was like, cool, I get to go see her. My frequent flyer points got me there. My brother paid for me to do it, so I'm so forever grateful for you, Brady, for funding for that. And my best mate, he gave me $500 spending money. So everything for me was just like, this is too divine to ignore. Tegan, who you know, and she says hello. She absolutely loved the session she had with you. Thank you so much, Bobby. She invested her last $300 to come to this workshop.
Wow.
And there was external pressure saying, don't do it. It's a scam. It sounds like crap. Don't do it. Don't do it. And she doubled down and she did it. And she came along, and that was kind of the start of our budding relationship. So everything was like really given to me on a platter for my new version of myself and the new life that I wanted to start creating. And when I got into the workshop, my mind was just absolutely blown. I learned about what beliefs are. I learned how they affect our life. I learned how they control our behavior. I learned about how the brain sort of works in terms of why we sometimes get stuck in one-track thinking. We go down that spiral when negative thoughts come in, and then we start to create from that negative state, which creates more problems. And so all of this stuff was just like, at the end of the day, I was mush. I was so tired. I was exhausted because my mind was just getting absolutely We call it in Psyche, the Duccio, one of our directors, he calls it soft tempura fried. So it's like we're really just it's so much information that we're just not being aware of. And then the second day of that, like we started to change a few beliefs, and I felt amazing after doing that. I think the first one was I trust my subconscious mind, and then the next one was I trust my conscious mind. And after that, I really started to feel some massive shifts in my life in terms of trusting myself and where my life is actually going. So the second day was when Ian Spicer, he said, there are people here that after this workshop that they're off, they're being facilitators, and they can start businesses and start actually earning money doing this by helping other people do this as being part of the facilitator community. And man, I've never felt something hit me in the guts with such force before, but it was just like I got whacked in the guts, and my spirit said, you need to follow this. And so that was scary as hell, but I listened, and I stepped into that, and I started doing it. And it wasn't easy in the beginning. And in hindsight, I probably should have waited and given myself a bit of time to actually change before I started to do this. But there is in no way do I regret what I've done, because it's got me to where I am. It's got me in front of you right now having this amazing conversation. But I think sometimes, we're given these visions of our life, but we don't know when that's going to happen. We think that's going to happen right now, but it could be in 3 years, it could be in 4 years, it could be in 5 years. This was back in 2014, so it's 5 years later now, and I feel I'm finally ready to really step into this and own and honor the role that has been bestowed upon me. So that's led us to here now, man. I was a workshop junkie for a while. I was just going along and really listening. I'm in close contact with another instructor now, Rosie Pletzer, who is just an amazing person. She's a massive influence in my life, and she's really guided me along the way. And the change that I've experienced in my life in terms of who I am now, like it wasn't easy starting the business. As we all know, starting businesses is never easy. And there's times where I've pulled my hair out and I've thought, what the hell is going on here? There's times where I wanted to give up. And towards the end of last year is when I joined into a community with Anagic and Gaz and that. And so that's where I found you, and I started following you, started listening to you a bit. And I had an instant liking to you and what you were saying. And I wanted to have a numerology session with you, but I just could never really afford it at the time. I ended up having a bit of burnout towards the end of last year, and I've never gone through anything where I feel like I was depressed, but I could liken it to that. I was so flat. I was out. I was down, and I was ready to give up and call it quits. So I just decided to hit the pause button. I was never giving up. I always held that vision above me of who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And I went back to will to swallow. There was nothing. I resisted the hell out of that. And in what I think of resistance is exactly what we need to do. If we're resisting something, we need to go and do that for a time. So I went back to work, and that was really helpful for me because I was able to see how much I had actually changed. I went back into a construction site, and I started like group hug sessions and giving out free hugs to dudes on site. Like these macho men were coming up to me and asking me for hugs. So for me, that was like sick, man. I've actually changed so much. Wow. I'm not making any of crap here real anymore. I'm literally just being a beacon of light and love for people. And it was so natural for me to do that. Even when people would bag me out and say, dude, what are you doing? I would just show them that it's okay. And then the next day they'd be coming in and asking me for a hug. And I was like, this is sick. I love it. This is so cool. So that's where it's got us to now. I just lost my job again last week. And for me, that's like, okay, sweet. It's time for action again. Had my session with you. You absolutely nailed me. And we mapped out my years to come over the next decade, which are just absolutely so exciting. And it's what I've always felt. So you've confirmed for me what I've always thought about my life, but it's always been I've been stuck between I'm not good enough and who do you think you are? And I'm right in that place now, and I've just really started to smash that belief out of the park. And then we had our session, and you sort of given me this external recognition of my internal belief of what I've always sort of felt but been scared of. And that's where we are now. You told me that you got a spot for me on your podcast, and we're acting on that, and now I'm ready to go. It's awesome. I'm ready to step back into that and create some massive change in the world.
Dude, this is crazy. I'm like getting a chance to see this because as Alexe said, I got a chance to read your chart. I got a chance to look at it. Do you mind if I share little bits and pieces with our audience about what you got going on?
Please. I'd love to hear it again.
So there's three components to this guy. We've got the fighter, we have the intuitive, and we also have the heart. And the heart ranges from like, let's have fun to let's save the universe. And on the other side, we have a warrior and we have a spiritual person here. So, looking at your birthday, it's got the same set of numbers as my middle name. So there's going to be a likenability and a feeling of like, I get this guy, or I understand this person. And even for me, I was like, there's something I need to do here. And for me, September, when this recording is happening, I'm overwhelmed with this energy of conclusion. It's over. We're done. We have to move forward. We have to complete things that we've gone through. And this moment or this conversation, it's a symbol for what has happened and what will happen again. It's that moment between the breath, inhale or exhale, and then back into inhale. So we've gone through a massive shift. Even, yesterday for you guys, today for me, full moon on a Friday the 13th. I saw a picture on the line that said the next one's in 20 years. So we've got a very particular, and full moons are all about release energy. Not too sure about the vibration of the 13. I mean, it's a good number by my count. But when I put the vibe together for the day, you're in one day ahead of us now. It's a shift and change. For where we're having this conversation, it's about intuition and about like feeling in a deeper emotion. This is a 7 vibe day. You're born in July. It's a 7 month. We have a very strong level of 9 energy. September, you're born on the 18th. This is September vibe. So when we get a chance to do this, for those of you guys who are watching, those of you guys who are listening, enjoying this, you got to have to ask yourself, what am I letting go of? Like what has happened in my life? And you really, like, the way you did it was like, it's almost like poetic justice to think, your problems become part of the solution, or you get a chance to see the challenge you're going through and then meet over it or go on top of it. So a lot of the people inside of my audience and the people who listen to things I say, we're on a journey to unlearn all of the crap that we thought made us a person, all of the stuff that we were taught by society, taught by our parents, and oh my God. And, all the while we're getting old ideas, and our future is saying a completely different thing, saying we're rising, we're going through a higher vibe. So you coming in here is almost like this flag being waved that says it's okay, it's safe. So I really wanted to share this because your numbers, besides the really big heart, the super charm, and besides the fighter, is this cosmic intuition that can disassociate itself from time. So, it's funny how on the work zone level, you became an electrician, right? Because that's like just dealing with currents and electricity, but it wasn't enough for you. You're like, I need to ditch the wires and I need to actually grow through this in a spiritual sense. So I'm finding the spiritual sense of humor, the cosmic sense of humor, that you would continue your path as a wizard. You're just no longer bound by these ancient technologies. Wires are like a thing of the past now. We want to work with absolute wireless technology and kinetic energy. It's funny to think that you'd get a bunch of dudes lining up to give you a hug on a construction site. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, really? You did that? That's the funniest thing ever. So so cool. Okay, so you've certified yourself, you've gone through programs, you've gone through education. I like to think while you were saying that, I'm like, it's more like of an unlearning and really coming back to your natural and true power. But when I look at this life path and this numbers, I'm thinking that he's here to do something. He's here to help people get somewhere. And this is why I really wanted to broadcast a message for you across my channels, just because I want to support this. I want to feel like I'm part of the increasing or the generating of what's going to happen next for a lot of people. I know what's going to happen next year. There's going to be a lot of hard work that needs to take place. And in order to really get that done, you got to get right and you got to get clean with yourself. You have to get absolutely like good with you. So do you mind taking us down this path a little bit? I'm really curious, and I'm not sure if you can use an example and get rid of one of my subconscious beliefs, or if it doesn't work that way, or can you maybe just walk us through what it looks like to get this done?
Yeah, sure. I mean, within the facilitated guidelines, we're not allowed to do anything live because it's as same as your work. It's super sacred and it's super respectful, and we don't want people to then go and think that they can go and do that, because it needs, we need to join into that space together, one-on-one, completely safe and private with each other. Because
Thank God for that.
with the subconscious mind. Yeah, that's right. There's a term we use which is sumatak, and that is the holder of space where wisdom is revealed. So if the subconscious mind doesn't feel present the things that are actually going on, because it's all about cause and effect. The cause is in our mind, the effect is out of our mind. So we want to look at the cause of what's going on, not necessarily what is actually going on. That they're symptoms. We look at what we don't like about our lives. The subconscious mind gives us exactly what we're thinking about. And so if all we're thinking about is what we don't want or what we don't like, then the subconscious mind has no option other than to just present that back to us. Life is a mirror. It's constantly mirroring ourselves back to us. So within a session, we really look at what's going on, and the simple question is, how would you like that to be instead? And that's a powerful question, because most of us never actually ask ourselves, what do I want, Bobby? What do I want? Because society tells us that our dreams are too far out there or too unrealistic, and it's futile to dream that what I really want for my life is something that I can actually create for ourselves. I can create that myself. So we never even dare to ask ourselves, what do I want? We all know what we don't want. And often we limit ourselves to that and hold ourselves in this prison of limiting beliefs that just reflect that back to ourselves. And there's a reason why we have 70% of our belief system is limiting. And there's a very good reason for that. When you're growing up as a child and you're a dad right now, what are some of the first things you teach your child to keep him safe?
No boys. Don't touch any boys, you girls. Love and give hugs, and honestly, I'm teaching it. It's okay, and share and be nice to people, and that's it for me. I think that's it creates a love force field around you.
Beautiful. I love that, man. But in order to keep your child's physicality safe, we teach them what not to do. Don't go there. Stay away from that. Don't do that. That's going to burn you. And that's coming from love, because it's our duty to keep their physicality safe and the body safe.
Well, adult fear versus child fear, right? Don't run on the street. Don't do this, and don't run with knives. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what we're constantly between the ages of 1 and 7 is when all of our belief system we're in download mode. The brain, I think it's in theta. We're just downloading. We are a tape recording device. It literally is monkey see, monkey do. And after that, we start to develop the sense of identity, and the consciousness starts to take hold, and the child starts to begin to operate from this belief system that has been told what not to do and how to stay safe.
Oh man.
We bring that into our adult life, where everything, school is just horrible. Everybody goes through a tough time in school, whether you're the bully or the person being bullied, whether you're the A grade student or you're the teacher, you're the student that the teacher's calling you stupid. There is so many traumatic experiences within school that teach us who we are not. And so then we go into our adult life and we start living our life completely. We got all these childhood traumas and things and conditioning of being put in this box and told who we are, and it's not who we are. And we try and live our adult life, and we wonder why our life doesn't reflect what we actually want. So that's what we start to look at. What don't we want? What don't I like? Where did that start? And how would I like that to be instead? We remove the processes that we facilitate to transform the perception of stress, to transform the perception of trauma is so powerful. It's like you go from being the main actor in those movies that we're creating, because, you know, like we're projecting ourselves onto a movie screen, and we're watching that movie screen, and we are the main actor in that. And it's like when we do these processes, when we facilitate the whole brain state, which I'll touch on in a little bit further, we integrate the hemispheres of the brain, and we start perceiving information with both hemispheres of the brain. We are able to go from being the main actor who is experiencing so much pain that the world has to provide for us, to being the director. We can sit back and we can see everything. We can sort of see, wow, that's why that happened. It's so I can do this in my life now. If I can just change it from being a problem and see that as a gift, because I am grateful that that happened to me, now I can start behaving in a different way and start creating something new. And it's such a liberating feeling, because we can start to look at everything we've learned in our life and make something of that, because everybody has a gift to share. Everybody has something to contribute. It's just finding the power and the potential and aligning with our potential to create what we want to create and share that with everyone. And with Insight K, it's really cool. You know, Rob Williams talks about it as being a process for global evolution, and it really is, because everything that I experience and everything that I change, I'm uploading back to the collective consciousness, and we're really raising the vibration of the collective consciousness, because the person, you know, everyone says that, you know, be the change you wish to see in the world. And if we are being that change and we're sharing that with every person who we come in contact with on a daily basis, then, and my favorite poem is Marianne Williamson's poem about our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, it is that we are powerful beyond measure. And then I can't remember the whole poem, I can't recite it, but at the end of it, it says, as we give ourselves permission to shine, we subconsciously give others permission to do the same. And it's all, at this subconscious is such a beautiful world, and in the world of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, of creating change that can just change somebody else's life just with a touch, or just by coming into contact with them, and they see that you believe in yourself, so maybe that they can believe in themselves. It's a hugely powerful thing to go through, and I'm so blessed to do this work, as I know you are blessed to do your work.
I mean, it feels like the true calling, and honestly, I mean, we're cut from the same cloth here. I just want to focus they're like, I know a lot of people are having some profound experiences through these words. You're shifting a lot of the fabric of a lot of what we hold true. And it seems like common sense, but it really isn't. But when we're looking at your birthday and your numbers and all this stuff that shows up, this person is outside of time. You are not connected to it in a linear, logical fashion. It's in an emotional and an intuitive and spiritual surrounding. So there's a level of authority that this information is coming from a very divine space. It's almost like a sense of being downloaded. Now, challenges, human being challenges. Some of these names are going to limit ourselves or sacrifice ourselves. It's for this greater good, or I'm not living up to my own, or whatever it is. And I'm glad that, you know, these big shifts are going through your life right now, because, you know, this year, you and me both, we're moving through a vibration that says, I'm ready to take charge. I'm ready to get to the next stage. I'm ready to move forward. So I'm glad that you're here for us. And I'm glad that I'm introducing you this way to my group. So I know that, because when I listen to this, or when I hear this, I like to listen through the eyes of, or the ears of my audience. And I like to sort of, you know, feel what they're going to do or what they're going to say. We have some people saying cool things inside of the chat. So wicked awesome, crazy powerful. Wow, this is powerful. You've been calling an energy sage. You know, like, this is very powerful information for a lot of my people who are watching this. So I'd like to know, you know, and when you're like, oh no, we can't do this live, I'm like, what? Like this, wait a second. This is a divine code, a divine conversation that I get it. No, you can't do it live. No, and I understand that. And it holds such a spiritual weight that you just kind of like pulled all the attention and the focus into this. And it really makes me curious. I'm like, okay, so you can do this online. I mean, we can do this one-on-one over a camera, over a session, over a thing like that. So does this take an hour? Do you do half an hour sessions, 90 minutes? Like, how much does it cost to work with you? I know we're going to date ourselves if we talk about this, but I'd like to at least put something up so people can get a frame reference of what your time is worth.
Yeah, sure. So sessions go for about an hour. I allow up to 90 minutes because I don't like to limit it too much. If we're deep in it, I'm not going to cut it off. So 60 to 90 minutes, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. To change a belief is like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at most. So we really look at, and when we change a belief, we create a whole new version of ourselves. And so what happens is we sort of sit there and we sit with the feeling and say, okay, now what else? And now how do you feel about that? Because often we get, there's multiple reasons why that is happening. It could be we don't trust ourselves. It could be I don't have a voice. It could be that I'm too scared that I can be that successful. So we change a belief, say around being a new, well, here I've got a few examples here. So within our within our work stuff, okay, self-esteem is the first thing I just turn to. So I deeply appreciate and accept myself could be something that we first start to do. And so I sit there and I say, okay, now how does that feel? Well, maybe I don't trust myself with what I say to people. So we start to look at, okay, so how would you like that to be instead? We create a whole new belief around how we actually relate to people and how we express ourselves to people. Okay, now sit there. And because we're rewiring the brain and it's downloading with the whole brain state, we're downloading information. It's Bruce Lipton calls it super learning. And just as a point of giving this a bit more credibility, Bruce Lipton is a massive, massive force in this. He uses it for his own life. He's just starting to share that with people, that this is what he is really familiar with and what he uses. He's worked very closely with Rob Williams in developing a lot of the content that we go through in the workshops, in aligning our lives with the principles of nature, because, we are from nature and nature is there is so much power and wisdom in nature that we can learn from that we just don't even look at. So when we start to create these new beliefs and new versions of ourselves, we look at the rest of the resistance towards creating that. So it may be one belief and that's all we need. Maybe it's 2 or 3. There's different beliefs that can create different outcomes. And we really look at all the bits of resistance that's stopping us from achieving that. On the other side of that is secondary gains. Like, we get something out of these limitations. And that's a painful thing to admit, that I actually want this. How do we know I want it? How do I know I'm meant to be experiencing something? Well, it's because you're experiencing it. Because I'm experiencing it, that's my indication that I need this and that I'm getting something out of this. Like for me, when I wanted to go to the gym or something, I like being lazy and watching TV. So for me to go to the gym, I have to work on my desire to sit on the couch and watch TV. I get something out of not wanting to do something is what I'm trying to say. So within the sessions, we really look at all of that. And as we change it, the beautiful part about this is that the power is not within me. The power is within my partner creating the change. I provide the space and I am a mirror and I facilitate the change. But the amazing thing is I don't put myself in a session at all. I don't put myself into that person and say, you need to do this and this needs to be the belief. It's all about the individual, because the subconscious mind is that powerful. It knows exactly why things are the way they are. We're just often not willing to accept it and see it in a different light. And so as we change the beliefs, it instantly changes. We instantly start thinking a new way. I cannot connect to the person that I used to be anymore because it's not there, because I've changed so many of these beliefs. So the sessions go for about an hour and we really look at all of that. And sometimes the challenges have messages for us. So we start to communicate with the divine and the superconscious mind. to allow the superconscious to provide us what the true interpretation of those life's challenges are, the gift in that challenge. Because the small me is going to have so much conditioning behind what's going on. The big me knows the big picture. Mm. So we channel that big me, that big higher self version, to actually show us what's going on and receive the messages we need to change whatever's going on. So that's the sort of the framework of a session. There's the different tools to construct the new house that we live in, but they go for about an hour to 90 minutes. My sessions are $185. I don't generally have more than 1 to 3 sessions for an individual. Like, we create so much change within that session that generally whatever somebody comes to me with, within that session, we've changed a lot of it. We build the container and we start to grow the level of consciousness that we are able to hold. So moving forward, we may come back and say, okay, well, now it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. You only know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. So as we change, then we can start to become aware of other things that may be contributing to what's going on. Or, we're only comfortable with creating so much change, and after a period of time, we say, okay, I'm there now, I'm ready to really step this up and create more change. So we start to build out the container and we're able to hold more of what we actually want to create.
It's crazy, man. A lot of us who listen to this, we're in the entrepreneur space. We want to create money without this linear style of clock in, clock out, and that unleashing from the school system, government system, work 40 years and find a trade or find a job. It can be the most painful thing because we grew up with parents who are like, they remember the tough days, or they remember the recession, or they remember all these bigger things that are happening inside of the world. Before our time, we inherit their belief system. So when you're talking like this, I'm like, man, you're speaking to the core of me right now. And how do we, I guess, it's tough because part of me recognizes there that we really can't get too deep in something that we can do live because of how sacred this is. But can you tailor this conversation towards an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for sure, man. As you say, we want to step outside of what we have inherited. And when we say I am the way I am because of my parents, that's total victim mentality. Like, you've got no control to change that. So we want to align with growth mindset. Bruce Lipton says that something can only be in fear, protection, or growth. If you're in fear and protection, you're dying. Like, you're just walking through life with your eyes closed, and we're not getting anywhere. You're just waiting for the end of the clock for you, and that's not a way to live. So we're aligning with growth mindset and looking to grow through everything. So especially as you touched on, the conditioning of our governments and our schools to have that linear, you've got to go, you've got to get your job, you've got to create, you got to work in the system and get paid a paycheck, you buy your house, you get your family, settle down, get a car, house, all this stuff that society says we need to have a happy life. We want to shift that because it's not true anymore. It may have been true 20, 30 years ago for the generation before us, for our parents, where a job was what they needed and a job was what they cherished because that's all that there was. But we live in the most abundant times we've ever experienced. Contrary to what the media tells us, we are so living in the most abundant times ever. There is so much opportunity everywhere. We've got the globe at our disposal. We can connect. Look at us. We're on the other side of the globe and we're having these amazing conversations that are going to transform people's lives just by listening, by learning something new. So especially with the entrepreneur space, and how much I think what we can help entrepreneurs with the most is finding their voice, expressing themselves, aligning with their truth and sharing that with people, because we need to hear everybody's truth. People need to hear this. And I've been terrified about sharing this stuff. And it was only just 2 days ago, I changed a belief. I've really been listening to Brené Brown a lot lately and looking into shame. And I changed my belief. I completely resolve and dissolve the shame I feel for expressing my truth speaking my truth and speaking about Site K. 3 days later, I'm in front of an international audience talking about this with no fear at all. I'm so excited about it. So things change really quickly. You presented this opportunity to me. An older version of myself would have said, yeah, sweet, man, that sounds awesome. Let me know when you want to do it. I didn't go with that. I said to you, dude, let's strike with the iron top, let's make this happen. And you said, how's Saturday morning? Bang, we're here, we're doing it.
Boom.
And at that, for me, I'm observing myself and I'm like, wow, this is something I would never do. And that's the beauty about the subconscious mind, is that it's so natural. You just observe yourself and you find yourself doing things that you never would have thought you would do before. So for the entrepreneur space, it's huge, because we need to find out, we need to open up and be feeling safe about opening up and not protecting ourselves and hiding ourselves away from the world.
Numerological side note, you're ending a decade. You ended a decade last year. 2018 was the final call for a 9-year run. A lot of things happen in there, but you getting to a new place in your life, I'm blessed to say I'm in a 1 year as well myself. The cycle renews. We look with this brand new eyes thinking, what's my vision, or what's this going to look like? So I'm pretty sure we kind of did this a little bit during our session, but since our conversation, have you had a chance to look what does 5 or 10 years from now, Alexe have to say back to you today?
Dude, thank you so much for standing up and fighting for me. You hit the nail on the head. You already said that next year for me is going to be the earth will be a classroom, and I'm going to be a teacher. My business partner, I'm so grateful. It's my old man. I'm in business with my dad, keeping this as a family. We're all family. You're my family. Everybody who steps into this now, we're part of a family of growing individuals sharing love and truth. We've got workshops that we're planning. I've already, my goal is I want to be a Site K instructor and start having workshops all around the world. So that's what I'm working towards. My dad, my business partner, and we've already starting to build out some workshop spaces within personal and corporate. In October, we're going to Jakarta to do our first, we've got a 3-hour experiential seminar where we're going to help people identify these blocks, and some conscious goal setting exercise that do impact the subconscious mind at some level. It's not quite as powerful as the one-on-one sessions, but there are things that we can do to help people learn how to create well-formed goal statements, speaking the language of the subconscious mind. Affirmations are amazing. They take a lot of commitment and a lot of continually saying them. The beauty about putting them into the subconscious mind is, we learn how to speak the language of the subconscious mind, which is first person, present tense, emotionally meaningful, short, and first person, present tense, emotionally meaningful, short. There's one other bit to that. But anyway, speaking the actual language of the subconscious mind, the senses, because that's how the subconscious mind interprets the world. So sometimes affirmations saying I will be successful, the subconscious mind doesn't get that, because that's future tense. It doesn't understand that this is in the now. The now is all we have. And so we're aligning with this is me, I'm showing up, this is how I want to be right in this moment, because every moment is all we have. And so, moving forward, man, I'm really excited to start sharing this and create workshops. And Dad's got he's working in the mining industry, starting to build out workshops with leaders in this industry who they're aware that they can't lead because they've been conditioned by other supervisors or project managers who have shamed them and who have boxed them down and hit them down, traumatized them, and then they can't actually share their own innate truth and wisdom because they're too scared about it, because they're still traumatized by some other person who's done that. And it's just a flow-on effect. We don't blame them. They're only doing the best they know. It's amazing that we have new ways of changing things and new ways of behaving to get better outcomes and more wholesome outcomes, because the state of the world, as we all know, Bobby, anxiety, depression, suicide, it's going through the roof, and we need a new way. We need something unique and something different to create change and to allow everybody to feel a sense of belonging and fitting in.
That's a pretty big gauntlet to throw down. I mean, a lot of people are going through that. Some people they don't make it, and some people even worse. They look like they're still alive. They actually still process and they still go through the daily stuff, but they've died inside. And I remember being there, and it was just drilling myself with drugs, depression. It was just video games after fried foods, and I just hated life. And I was just basically taking what pleasures I could while my life was depleting. And I never thought of it back then that it would come all crashing down so that I could rebuild into the way that I am in now. But people who are going to hear this, whether you're here now or you're watching this or you're listening to this, they're going to be like craving some sort of spiritual salvation. And those are their hands are out there like, I don't want to be here anymore. Or I'm going through a lot. I've got this divorce or this depression, this stuff, and and everything's just bricking on top of that person. What would you scream to them?
Through breakdowns come breakthroughs. Russell Brand says the society is falling apart because we've built a system that doesn't support the human spirit. Bruce Lipton talks about the analogy of a caterpillar and a butterfly. I love this. I absolutely love this. Like, society is falling apart. We can see that. The constructs that we've built are falling apart. And there's a very good reason for that. He talks about the caterpillar. Let's relate this back to nature again. A lot of Psych K reverts back to nature and the wisdom that nature has to provide for us, because it is divine. It follows a different set of rules that we do, that the human mind tries to understand, and it doesn't. Everything happens in a divine way. It's chaos, but it's so clear. It's so beautiful. You look at a forest, it's like when you look at one little bit of it, it looks ridiculous, but when you look at the whole, it looks so amazing. And so when he talks about the caterpillar and like when a caterpillar is growing and it's eating everything, it's basically destroying its environment to grow and get bigger, kind of where we're at the moment in our environment, in our society. It's growing, it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and technology and all these advances have been happening to improve our life. But at the same time, it's not improving our life. There's so much pain, there's so much war, we're destroying our environment, and things are happening that aren't sustainable anymore. And he says that the caterpillar gets to a certain stage where it stops growing. And that's kind of where we're at now. We're still growing, but it's getting to a point where it's going to stop because it's not sustainable anymore. We're either going to extinct ourselves or we're going to transform into something bigger. And he says at a cellular level, when the caterpillar gets to its stage where it goes into its cocoon, it stops growing. So there's cells within the caterpillar that are thinking, wow, I'm out of work. What do I do? This is so scary. There's nothing for me to do anymore. And these cells literally start killing themselves. They're committing suicide. And he says that it goes into this dormant phase and lays quiet for a while these cells kill themselves. And there's all this chaos within the caterpillar. And then there's these other cells. He calls them the imaginal cells. Me and your imaginal cells, bro. The imaginal cells are the ones that say, hold on, guys. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's not that bad. There is something far more amazing on the horizon. If we can just shift and change ourselves and recreate the concept of who we think we are, we can become a butterfly, man. We can grow our wings and we can fly. And I think that's where we are. We're at that point because it is an evolution of consciousness, and we need to be able to change what we think we are, who we think we are, and what we're here for, so we can create something far more beautiful and more divine, and we can all fly, man. We can all really start to be something amazing.
It's crazy. I can feel the as again, I put my audience on and I just strap it in, and I'm like, I can feel people being like, I want to be a butterfly. I want to transform. I want to evolve. I'm ready to do this. I feel like, I'm stuck. And to that, I respond, well, there's a reason why there are people like Alexe and me. We're out here. My brother's out here. We're doing these things because we want to be part of that change. So I'm glad that you've answered the call. I'm super blessed that you have. It is an absolute honor and a blessing to have you here, man. So let's talk about how to find you, because I want to do something here. I want to create something that we can, work together or do something. You heard it. His price was $195, right? If you guys book 100, yeah, I'm gonna pay $100 to that. If you guys book a session with me for an hour and you want to see him as well, I'm gonna blend in my rate into his so that we can get you guys like together and really move this energy forward. I think it's more about what we can create as opposed to what it pays us to be in business. It's more about what we can do for others. So I'm putting that in. I'm saying I'm investing in this guy. I hope that you guys do too. But where do we find you? Like, where do you hang out?
So I've got social media, which is just Above and Beyond Reality is the name of my business. Again, so we're going above and beyond. We're creating a whole new reality for ourselves. My website is anbreality.com. You can just contact me there. We're sort of going through a whole new booking system, preparing for the wave that is coming. So at the moment, it'll just be sending me an email and then we'll get back to you and we can book in a session. If I can offer some extra value to that as well, anyone who books in through this session, if you just give me that you're booking through Bobby, I'm going to give you a free copy of Biology of Belief, which is Bruce Lipton's book. Woo. And it's totally, it gives you a really good understanding of the importance of beliefs and why we need to change them. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's where I can find you. So this is awesome. Thank you so much for offering that. You're a beautiful person. It's my firm belief that there is more than enough food for everybody to eat at the table.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to share.
And if not, we get another table. I mean, come on, why not? Absolutely. I look forward to helping people unlock, and that's what I do as a mission and vision inside of my life. So I'm glad that we're on the same page. You guys are going to see some pretty cool things happening from Alexe's direction in the next little while. I believe in that. I've seen it myself. I've seen the numbers in his chart. I believe in it. This is something I wouldn't go against. And it's been a pleasure to have you here, dude. I appreciate the words of wisdom. You channeled and divined something pretty powerful here.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the divine for channeling through us. We can only prepare the space and be a participant in it. Spirit moves through us, not for us. We can only show up and allow it to do it for us. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate your humility and how humble you are. It's almost as if you really allow the container to do what it needs to do and you don't make it about you. So super cool, guys. I really appreciate all you guys being here watching this and watching the replay, watching the podcast. It's been an absolute honor, Alexe, to have you here, my brother. I can't wait for the work that we're going to do together in the future. If you guys are watching this and you're feeling called, there's a reason why. It's because your future is saying, this is the one who's going to help us get there. So I appreciate you guys so much for watching this. Alexe, it's been a great time. Any final words or any final blessings for us?
Well, I just one thing I did want to share. It's the whole brain posture, because I didn't really touch on neuroscience. I talk about this. I'm not a neuroscientist. I have a very small understanding of it, just what I learned in the workshop. But the reason we get caught in one-track mind is because the energy of the mind gets trapped in one hemisphere of the brain or the other. When we experience something we don't like, when we're stressed or it's something that's untrue, the energy of the mind gets trapped in one hemisphere. What's between the two hemispheres is called the corpus callosum. Now that corpus callosum is a muscle. It's a network of fibers that when we're in a whole brain state, there's a lot of crosstalk between the two hemispheres. An anecdotal example of this is if you're angry or really upset about an argument you've had and you go for a walk, you start to think clearly again. Because we're using both hemispheres of both sides of the body, both hemispheres of the brain are engaged and the corpus callosum relaxes. So the whole brain posture is sort of, whether you can see me on video or if you're listening to me on podcast, if you cross the bylines of your body, crossing your ankles one way or the other, crossing your wrists, touching your palms together and interlacing your fingers, if you sit in this posture, that's the one. If you sit in this posture for a while, like this is something we can just do. I meditate in this posture. Sometimes I'll just sit and think. Like the corpus callosum relaxes, the body relaxes, everything starts to just chill out and we start to think clearly. And it's like a muscle. The more we train it to be flexible, the easier we move out of victim talk into empowered talk, into growth mindset, and the faster that corpus callosum will relax. So somebody who suffers from a lot of anxiety, it's a really rigid and hard corpus callosum. But if we train it, if we can just sit there in this posture, say 5 or 10 minutes a day, it will learn to be more flexible. It will learn to be more fluid, and we're able to move out of that destructive thought pattern into a more empowered forgiveness, unity, oneness sort of thought, and see how we can then start to respond rather than react to whatever is happening to us. So that's just something to share. That's nothing with insight. That's sort of just neuroscience and using what we have as at birthright.
Wow. That's so cool. It's crazy. Me and Sally were talking about it before, and I think it was the example she used was that this lady knew what a crayon was, but she didn't know what to do with it. And then after they had talked or something, was a shift in the energy, which she knew how to use it, but then the other side of her brain couldn't recall what it was that she was holding. And you just nailed it on that. Like we're reconnecting something that has been divided and split between us that they don't want us to know. I hate to get like super conspiracy theory on us here, but there's like a profitability in keeping your sovereignty away from you. And so this really is it marks the generation start of what we're going to go through. And next, it's very powerful. We're doing this on a 9-month. Get ready for what happens next. And I appreciate you once again, brother, for being here, man. It's been an absolute honor and a blessing.
Thank you so much, man. The feeling is certainly mutual.
We're going to do round 2. I'm going to have to go through this myself. We can't do this live. Okay, guys, sorry. I'm going to sit with this guy. He's going to work on some of my subconscious beliefs about myself. I'm excited for that. And then I'm going to bring him back. We're going to do a round 2, and we're going to go even deeper. It's going to be crazy because I'm just going to tell you guys what happened. And it's going to be crazy. If I can, I'll respect the space. But I'd love to be able to share my first account experience with you guys to really nail this in and help people more.
Beautiful, man. I really look forward to that. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. You have a great night. Alexe, it was a pleasure once again. You guys have a great day, great night, whatever time it is. Reach out to this guy and let him know that you're interested. Reach out to me. Let me know, hey, you had that Alexe deal. We'll set you guys up. Absolutely. This is the solution artist, Bobby F. Parihar here, coming to you guys on a really powerful day. And thanks so much, Alexe. You have a great night, guys.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Take care. Bye.